Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming in to talk about My Hero Academia chapter 271. Now, before we begin, I want to pat myself on the back because I'm happy to see that I'm interpreting the series correctly sometimes, and I'm happy for that because it means like at the end of the day I'm not wasting all of your guys' time with all the analysis. So I feel really good, and I'm of course speaking of the events with Tokoyami coming face to face with Hawks' nature. I'm so happy that we're finally getting it, that fruition of Tokoyami's setup, and don't deny that there wasn't setup. Like, recall this whole saga really started with Tokoyami calling Hawks a great man and reiterating this, really being kind of annoying about it, sometimes not really. But he did this, I believe, at least twice before the chapter. I want to say 3 times, but I can think of 2 times for sure. Anyway, the first thing that I said in this whole saga was that Tokoyami may be the person that calls Hawks out for his behavior. Going down the line of, he who hunts monsters becomes a monster, and then Tokoyami would be the one to say, hey, you've become a real monster. Over time though, well, really with this arc, Hawks took on more tragic hero qualities, and Bakugo started making unexpected moves with regards to best genist in the lead up to this arc. And at this point in time, you might recall I floated the idea of maybe something like Bakugo yelling at Hawks in the hospital when Hawks is like pretty beaten down, maybe Tokoyami having to be the one that goes in there to defend him, because we had to respect Hawks' suffering in this case somehow. Anyway, that scenario was built on the spirit of what we saw in this chapter, where Tokoyami has to come face to face with some of what Hawks has had to do. And as we saw, Tokoyami took the role of the defender, which in my mind makes it more likely that we're gonna get some manifestation of angry Bakugo wanting answers, although it is questionable if Bakugo will confront Hawks at this moment in time. And interestingly, Dabi did not go all out with the breakdown of Hawks there, which tells me that the author does want to use that best genist angle for greater effect later. Like, maybe Dabi will say it later. We're at a point where that best genist bit of information really has more weight if Bakugo is around to hear about it. And even if Bakugo has the opportunity to go confront Hawks about it, that would also be very valuable. Anyway, overall, I'm happy. This has been a long time coming, ever since the first day that Tokoyami hyped up Hawks. Can't wait to see how the best genist portion is going to be handled, whether or not best genist is alive or not. And in this chapter, we also got Gigantomachia waking up. Like, we knew it was going to happen, right? Like, we all knew it was going to happen. Backgum assumed that it would be fine. Dark Shadow cowered at Gigantomachia. Giganto was looking at his radio. Mina and Kirishima are together, and they are 2 people who have seen Giganto before. Really, come on. Every time that this showed up, I said it out loud. He's probably coming back. Recently, I thought it was going to be telepathy. I still think it's like some kind of telepathy, but we'll talk about that at the end. Anyway, I got the page-by-page walkthrough for you guys. Before we start, I just want to let you guys know I am currently dealing with a copyright war. Another party has claimed one of the manga videos. I know the manga videos. It's the first copyright strike I've gotten like almost a year. So I'm currently dealing with that. This particular party looks kind of vindictive, so they might take me down. And in the case that you do not see a My Hero Academia chapter video like 5 days after a chapter has been released officially on Viz, it's probably because I'm dealing with some kind of copyright problem. But hopefully I'll get through it. Anyway, let's begin. Page 1. It's not an important page. It's honestly just a little bit of a catch-up page. That the biggest thing is really the details on the distance that the kids are from the rest of the kids. It's just a catch-up page. Page 2 to 3. Tokoyami gets an accolade as being the first person to be able to escape Fat Gum. We gotta remember that Tokoyami, he's the guy that the author wants to feature, but the character just ain't popular enough. We know this, or we can assume this, because Tokoyami gets accolades such as being 3rd in the festival or working with Hawks, a big name in the hero game. But he doesn't really have the screen time that matches the hype that he's been given. And, you know, this is pretty much hype. Other thing of note, though, Kaminari is probably the one who's going to tell the rest of his class about Tokoyami. That's really the other thing that comes out from this page. But yeah. Page 3 is honestly, I think, a cool cover page. I wonder if there's like any possible foreshadowing going on in this page. You know, Tokoyami has a lot of talons. Are they Gigantomachia's teeth? I mean, Dark Shadow has already like acknowledged Giganto as a monster through Dark Shadow's own true senses. So maybe there's something going on there. Maybe Tokoyami's going to be the Giganto killer. Honestly, probably not. Like, that's still a situation that Kirishima and Mina are entangled in. But right now, in terms of plot entanglement, Dark Shadow has entangled Tokoyami with Gigantomachia, being the one to hype him up. But Kirishima and Mina are more entangled with him since they might have seen him during a flashback. Actually, I don't know why I said might. They totally did see him during a flashback. And I still think Gigantomachia is Crimson Riot due to an extra detail that occurred in the anime in one shot. So that's why I think Kirishima is more entangled with Crimson Riot, or sorry, or Gigantomachia in general. But that's still a kind of fringe theory, so it's hard to say. Anyway, page 4 to 5, the biggest detail is the note that Hawks' back is totaled. And at this point, I will now say Hawks might be permanently out of the game. It's one thing when you see the bones on fire in like chapter 267, but it's another thing when the shadow monster is saying like this guy's back is toast. Now, I do want to point out, Hawks isn't bleeding out. Unless he has a stress-induced heart attack or an acute infection, he can survive this level of injury, I think. Especially because in terms of recency, the author has introduced the logic of cauterizing a wound through Endeavor and Mirko. You might ask, why is that important? Those are different situations. Well, it's important because it's something that the author acknowledged as a way that he can save characters or give them more time. A big problem with predicting fiction is that you don't really know how much common sense is maintained between our world and the fictional world. And further along those lines, all it takes is an author not knowing something or an author forgetting something for an unreasonable situation to be created in a fictional world. Another detail on this page is that we have Dabi criticizing the commission bringing kids in, and this is the start of Dabi's rhetoric. And at that point, I gotta say, you know, let's hold our horses there a little bit. One, yes, I do think it's tacky to be training teenagers to be urban combatants at a time that their brain still isn't fully developed. And most certainly, I do think it's tacky to have to use kids in live operations. But that is how much of a threat the villains have created. But anyway, you know, shonen premise, it's really hard. Talking about child soldiers is one of those areas that you don't do in Shonen Jump because everyone's just going to come up to you and say, hey, it's a story, let's just accept it. And it's like, yeah, I have to accept it as the premise. I have to accept the fact that it's okay to use kids as child weapons in Shonen Jump because it's a kid empowerment magazine series. Honestly, it's really mean when an author brings up the moral issues of making kids fight when it's like, but we have to accept that to buy into the manga. Like, why bring it up? Back to this. I agree with Dabi. I think it's tacky. But at the same time, I also think it's tacky to attack kids during their summer camp and to then kidnap one of them. But what do I know? Like, Dabi thinks he's the hottest piece of ham, honestly. Speaking of that, the author maintained Dabi smoking throughout the entire panel in pages, in 4 to 5. Honestly, like, good on the author for maintaining that detail. Every panel of Dabi in that shot has him smoking. Like, you gotta respect consistency, man. Anyway, page 6 and 7, we have another wonderful page of Dabi playing his twisted rhetoric and putting it against Tokoyami. And I can't stress this enough. Dabi is insane, guys. There are things going on in Dabi's mind that Dabi doesn't understand. Now, look, honestly, Dabi's, I think, kind of showing signs of a narcissistic personality disorder. But it's hard because it could just be that he is super deluded and that, or he's just playing an extreme manipulation game. Like, the real thing is, like, how much of Dabi's own view does he believe? Anyway, I personally don't believe that Dabi is anything but a joke right now. When it comes to spoken word especially, and moderately delusional. But that's just me. Definitely developed a bias recently. Still, it's worth dissecting what he says because the thing that really comes out of all of this is that Horikoshi is really great at writing his villains. And wherever there is genius, it should be celebrated. And like, honestly, the consistency with Dabi's characterization here, and the way that he talks, really good. Really good. Between the choice of words and just Dabi's follow through with his insanity, with his possible insanity, it's just been solid. Like, honestly, props to the author. Let's begin with this line. Your man killed this guy. He was just running off to protect his pals, but in the end, he got stabbed in the back. So what I want to say here, note the familiar words. Your man, running off, protecting his pal, stabbed in the back. The majority of the words paint a much more innocent situation where twice was the one done wrong, and even the choice of using your man, that's a way of building that, acknowledging the camaraderie between Tokoyami and Hawks, and then also a way for Tokoyami to feel the guilt on behalf of Hawks. Really good dialogue, honestly, 100% amazing. Anyway, those words are all technically true from the perspective of the villains. Of course, though, Dabi ignores the greater context, and that is a consistent element in his subsequent talks. But we're not going to buy into the propaganda, so let's just add some context. The pals that Twice was running off to protect are murderers. One of them tried to hurt Ochako, and the other one kidnapped Bakugo and attempted to kidnap Tokoyami. Right? Like, all right, so let's just bring it back a little bit. Then Dabi questions, why are you here anyway? Came to do some saving, but saving who exactly? And when he's saying that, we're shown the picture of carnage. And so let me just break this narrative again. I'll show you exactly who Tokoyami is saving. Look, these people have an underground lair. I'm not saying that I discriminate against people with underground layers, but it's definitely not a great thing to put on your resume. Their agenda is terrorism. We know this. And Shigaraki legit wants everything gone, except for the things that his buddies care about, right? Dabi can play victim all he wants and play mind games all he wants, but this is a preventative battle. I don't care. I know what's going to happen if you guys are left unchecked. There is no merit in leaving these guys unchecked. So I'm not going to be the guy that's going to say, like, we're going to wait till they attack us first to strike back so that we have some kind of legitimacy behind it. No, that's stupid. But hey, props to Dabi for playing the game. He's definitely playing the game. Then Dabi says that the pro heroes' hands are dirtier than the villains. That's also a joke. If Dabi had said that the pros are as dirty as the villains, in other words, saying equal, it would have been fine, but more? Yeah, right. Nah, man. You can't make that comparison. Dabi killed a man when that man tried to stop his bunch from getting quirk erasing bullets. He didn't have to do that, but he did it anyway, because that's who Dabi is. Yeah, no, screw Dabi. He's a dick. He's not someone we should be listening to when it comes to morals. Dabi keeps wanting to play this game that the heroes are worse than the villains, and that just isn't the case. Anyway, reeling it back, that statement, though, wasn't that bad, because at the end of the day, it does have some merit to it. I mean, Hawks is already failed by the standards set by Fatgum. He's already failed the heroic ideal of not killing someone. That said, I don't buy into the propaganda that Dabi does. I know that the heroes are just superpowered people. They aren't heroes from legends. They aren't these paragons of justice. They're people with powers. In my perspective, the only people that give mercy are the strong and the foolish. The reality is, Hawks ain't foolish, nor is he strong enough to be able to afford Twice mercy. So for me, it was either Twice goes down or you risk utter mayhem. And all Twice needed to do in this situation was bring out Awakened Shigaraki. Awakened Shigaraki, without being destroyed, could level the whole playing field. So it is absolutely valuable to talk about how Hawks fell short of heroic ideals, just as much as it is valuable to talk about how much pragmatism should we be willing to accept in these type of muddy situations. And I do want to reiterate, the talk about heroes living up to ideals is a worthwhile talk. There's a DC character that's built entirely around the idea that he won't take a life, that being Batman. There are so many writers that just love to jump on the circle jerk that is describing the struggle that Batman goes through with maintaining the idea that he doesn't kill villains. It's amazing that they get so much mileage out of the character, but that's because talking about the heroic ideal is a cool idea. That's why Stain is compelling, because he talks about the heroic ideal, but he overlooks the practicality of the heroic ideal, or in some cases the impossibility of it. And again, that's what makes it so interesting. And that's what makes Dabi's talks always something worthwhile to dissect. Also that, and because Dabi is crazy. Anyway, one point that was interesting here is that Dabi seemed really at peace at this shot. Like, this is one of his most peaceful shots. He's definitely speaking of something that resonates in his memories. Definitely. I'm very curious. Finally, Dabi mentions that Tokoyami stopped thinking for himself, and I actually think that was a really good line from him. All the heroes need to be able to think critically, but right now wasn't the time. Tokoyami defaulting to relationships with his mentor, I think, are fine given the circumstance, but it's definitely... I really do hope that Tokoyami thinks about this critically, especially if he does have a confrontation with Bakugo, because he needs to be able to think about this critically in order to best represent Hawks, I think. Anyway, page 8 and 9, you see the difference between Hawks and Dabi, that being that Hawks is actually intelligent. Biggest thing, I joke, biggest thing is, of course, Hawks adding context to Dabi's behavior. We, the viewer, kind of already know that Dabi is cooking himself, but it's kind of cool to see Hawks catching on to that. And at this point, let's talk about Dabi's character a bit, because honestly, I feel bad for the guy. This guy's end is going to be him quite literally burning himself out, both physically and mentally. His mind and thoughts are just like his quirk, you know? They're just self-destructive. Dabi's gonna have a self-destructive end, most likely crushed by his own ego. He built himself up despite all the messed up stuff going on with him. And in some ways, that in of itself is delusional. And he's ultimately going to be brought down. This show is not big enough for All For One and No Name Dabi. Also, I got a question. How are Dabi's shoes still intact in all this? Anyway, page 10 to 11, you got some excellent choreography. We see Dabi failing against someone that he has an advantage against. And we see Hawks getting knocked out. Hawks, in my perspective, is in pain shock pretty much. Like, too much pain. He's just needs to take a rest. The only way that I see Hawks dying right now is for there to be a way for people to hear Hawks' story. Now, we did see that Hawks had a recorder, possibly, as some of you guys pointed out way back when. I know Nicholas Rivera pointed it out, but yeah, some people pointed out it's possible that Hawks has been recording his story thus far, and it's also possible that given that he brought the recorder to the battlefield, that he was expecting to maybe die in this battle. And in that scenario, it does give us more leeway with Hawks' fate, since that would be a really good way for Bakugo to interact with Hawks' story. Remember, the thing that's keeping Hawks alive in my mind is the necessity for him to be there for certain moments. But if we have a proxy for Hawks, that being like maybe an audio diary, that will be good enough. It will serve the purpose that the story needs. For all we know, Hawks might have already slipped that mystery device into Tokoyami's pockets, and I really do hope it's a recorder that's recorded his audio logs all this while. Anyway, the reason I bring up that weird device is because the author brought it up, and it's the same thing with the passage in the hospital. That plot element has to come back in some form, and if it was a recorder, it does legit give a way for the author to kill Hawks, while at this moment in time, also furthering the Bakugo Best Genius plot, assuming Best Genius is dead. That's the sum up. Page 12 to 13, we got a good shot of Dabi invoking the Endeavor imagery with flames from his boots. It's interesting to note that Dabi's arms are legit burning away. So that leads me to ask you guys, I wonder if Dabi was lying when he was saying that he saw that coming to save face. Because just the crisping of his skin just kind of gets me. One last note, Dark Shadow got in between Tokoyami and Dabi to protect Tokoyami. That was really cute. Page 14 to 15, we get Getten showing up, and he makes a very good line about dogs of the state. The guy only needs one line, and he's already more accurate than Dabi's lines. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. Anyway, at this stage, I got really excited about the unique designs possibly coming out and actually doing stuff. And I really started hoping that they would. And so... Of course, I was really happy with the subsequent pages. Also, one more thing, I think it's reasonable to say that Shoto's big enemies at some point are going to be a tag team of Getten and Dabi, because, you know, Fire and Ice versus Fire and Ice. Just makes sense to me. Page 16 to 17, another exciting page. You have this guy coming out in Gang Orca, and all I gotta say is that this guy might be walking into a lot of hurt. Like one, okay, first off, Gang Orca is an orca, and those things have echolocation, alright? He's probably going to be aware. But two, even if Hole Punching Guy gets by due to quirk shenanigans and takes out Gang Orca, Yoroi is right next to Gang Orca. Alright? Look, man, Gang Orca was once a top 10 hero. Yoroi is a top 10 hero. I'm expecting wonderful things. I'm very excited. Honestly, though, if they take out Gang, I'm going to respect the advisor. That'll be a great moment for the advisors. Anyway, we later have Dabi saying that he's going to get started early, and that's exciting. Right now, I'm the guy shit-talking Dabi. I want to see him prove me wrong. I want to see what he can bring to the table. Might it be nose? Maybe. Betrayal? Maybe. Subterfuge reveal? Maybe. Dabi said he's the guy to watch, so maybe he can pull something big out of his pocket. Is he going to go Scorched Earth? Does he have a bunch of guys over at Tartarus just waiting for his call? Honestly, I don't know. It's kind of exciting. I'm really hoping for some kind of big betrayal, you know, to further his own cause, because that would be really neat. But at this point, you know, like if he brought out Nomus would be cool too. It makes sense for them to have some. But yeah, like honestly, There's so much potential here. But knowing Dabi, I don't want to get too excited because knowing Dabi, he's the biggest failure in the world. He might be saying stuff, but then he just, he's trying to be cool. He let Tokoyami get away. He's just like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna do something else because I'm super cool. And it's like, nah, you're not, Dabi. You're gonna screw it up because that's all you ever do. I bet his parents are disappointed in him, honestly. Anyway, jokes aside, I want to believe that Dobby's a loser so that when he proves me wrong, it's going to just be a great moment. Like, I'm really invested in this now. I really want to be proven wrong. Final pages. You had Tokoyami saying that Hawks isn't dirty. I love the tears. You got the boy coming face to face with the things that Hawks had to do. I love it. But Tokoyami, what his lines, like, he's not correct here. If Best Jeanist had to die for this plot to succeed, even if Best Jeanist offed himself, which I do think is a big possibility for the greater good, Hawks' hands are dirty. Playing ball with the safety commission, his hands are dirty. Best Jeanist, I think, is going to be the big turn here for Tokoyami, because that's, like, there's a lot of things riding on that Best Jeanist reveal, which, again, interesting that Best Jeanist was not brought up by Dabi. That's a big indicator that that's going to be a delicious reveal later. It's going to come from some direction. It's going to be good. I'm going to be ready for the tears. Anyway, at the end, we see Giganto. And man, I'm happy this man's going to rip. Now, I do want to say, there is no way that Shigaraki's scent escaped the hospital and crossed 80 kilometers and then got into Giganto's nose in less than an hour in an underground bunker. That's not how smell works. No one can tell me otherwise. There is no wind going 80 kilometers an hour to carry that smell, or else the heroes would be contending with a hurricane. So I'm just thinking, this is either anime logic or it's a supernatural sense that Giganto is interpreting through the faculty of smell. That, or Shigaraki accepting all for one has changed his leftover smell molecules, or Dabi is all for one. Like, honestly, if this is legit smell, I'm calling bullshit. That's dumb. That's dumb. There is no way that smell crosses that distance in that short amount of time. So very invested to see where that goes. Anyway, the big thing here, jokes aside, is Giganto saying master. Now at that point, I gotta wonder, is he referring to Shigaraki or all for one? Like, I doubt Shigaraki, because last time he called Shigaraki successor. And he might have transitioned. But there's also the possibility that Shigaraki has become more all-for-one like. And maybe Giganto is responding to the all-for-one quirk itself. But at the end of the day, he is legit sniffing. That said, synesthesia exists. So, he might be sniffing some paranormal juice or something. I don't know. But there is no way that Shigaraki's fart gets into that room, okay? Not from that distance, not at that time. That's just my opinion. I think it's a supernatural sense, but it's cool. It's cool that he's here. It's cool that he's active. I'm all for it. So at the end of the day, where does that leave us, everyone? Well, Shigaraki once upon a time said that the next time he meets the heroes, he's going to finish them off. He's incomplete Shigaraki though, so I don't see him actually being able to finish off people that matter. But he's probably going to go ham. He's probably going to wipe out a good amount. We have Hawks unconscious. His life is now teetering on the edge. Will he die in this battle? Will he die on a deathbed? I don't know, but we still need to get some kind of back and go talk. Maybe the recorder's there. We have Dabi off doing something, which is honestly, come on, Dabi, don't let me down, man. I believe in you, Dabi. Like, you're pretty cool. You had cool scenes in this chapter, right? I believe in him. But I have no reason to believe in him long term when he's let me down so many other times. Oh man, I love ragging on Dab. Oh man, I haven't had this much fun ragging on a character since Izuku. And then last thing I can say is, like, guys, remember that Hawks left us a message in chapter 246. He said that the kids are strong. They're going to be able to make a difference. They're going to be the ones to prevent what Shigaraki wants to bring out. They'll be able to affect this battle maybe. With Giganto up, and also maybe Shigaraki having a teleportation quirk, and also maybe Dabi getting some Nomu out. It might be the time for the chaos to spill over into the streets for everyone else to get involved. But that's the thing I want to leave you with. Hawks believes in these kids. I believe in them too. I think they'll be super good, especially when you have Tokoyami being called strong with the whole fat gum thing, which Giganto represents a huge possibility, because this is the guy that we know will go towards all for one, or whatever all for one is at this moment in time. Dabi's gone off to do something. I'm excited. This is gonna be cool. This is gonna be awesome, man. It's gonna be a fun time. I can't wait to see shit hit the fan. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. That was really just my excited ramblings for the chapter. it was a cool chapter. Again, I'm so happy just seeing Tokoyami come face to face with Hawks' activities. I like how the author worked that in there. I feel really solid about the whole back goal angle and all this. Guys, let me know what you thought down below. And until next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day. And yeah, hope you're all healthy.